Donor sues pro-Trump group for $2.5 million for failing to prove voter fraud.
What I found interesting in the article was that after the donor complained, the Stop the Steal group offered him back $1 million if he promised not to sue. It's almost like they knew all the time that there was no steal, and this was just a fundraising opportunity. Criminal organization scams another criminal out of $2.5 million. Criminal complains, and they offer back $1 million. Does that means they tried to steal $2.5 million from him but stopped the steal after only $1.5 million? I went to that donation website when it launched a couple weeks ago and it clearly said on the terms page that a huge chunk will be used to settle campaign debt, not investigate anything. Eshelman wired the group $2 million on November 5 and then sent them a further $500,000 the following week, but True the Vote did not provide him with updates on their activities. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. Good luck getting that money back, sucker. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. At what point in the last 5 years has the GOP been anything else? Still never got a single sentence about his healthcare plan. Day ago, good venture capitalists do their due diligence before giving someone $2.5 million. This is what honestly puzzles me. A lot of commenters are speculatively chalking up his fortune to inheritance, but from everything I can find on him, he made most of his money as an investor and manager. People told jokes about Trump on Wall Street back in the 90s. Like, how do you make a small fortune? Start with a large fortune and invest with Donald Trump. Somehow we seem to have reached a point where significant numbers of people with actual records of putting their money on the line, with strong financial incentives to learn from their experiences, have decided to just disregard the abundant evidence of Trump's untrustworthiness. I think this sort of thing should be genuinely scary to anyone who puts their trust in humans' collective reasoning power. How can someone do stupid have that much money? Many wealthy people grow up in a bubble and are extremely stupid on matters outside of that bubble. The Koch brothers are a prime example. They throw tons of money at right-wingers and act surprised when those people end up being substanceless attention-grabbing extremists. Because most rich people are rich because one of their ancestors were either smart or lacked morals enough to make a fortune, and now their descendants are mostly pissing away the money until they are either broke or get bailed out by the government. Wait, I thought some very vocal Republicans had lots and lots and lots of evidence they will release. Didn't they release the bomb yet? Otherwise that would mean that they were lying. And that can't be. While we stand by the vota's testimony that was brought forth, barriers to advancing our arguments, coupled with constraints on time, made it necessary for us to pursue a different path, the group announced on its website on November 17. Barriers to advancing our arguments is an interesting way to say, we had no case at all but we're happy to take your money. So, idiot throws away $2.5 million, spends another $200,000 suing for it back. Investment group sues idiot for losing the $2.5 million. Idiot has to spend another $200,000 defending himself against lawsuit. So a rube got duped as a headline nowadays? 5 will get you 10 that the rube in this case has already sent other money to equally suspecting organizations that promise to overturn the election. People try to put Trump voters into many buckets, but I think the most common is rube. They believe the snake oil salesman will fix all their perceived ills and throw in a magic elixir as well. This is common throughout the world and throughout time. You're in the shit. Someone promises a solution to your problems. Problems caused by a variety of socio-economic factors you or anyone can barely understand. A simple solution. Even better, they blame a group of people that you are aware of. Now your problem has a face. It is tangible. Now you can hate someone for your problem rather than be frustrated that you can't fix the problem. Now you are willing to do anything your savior says as it makes you feel better. Another Trump fanatic is born. Brexit is the same. It's the same all over the world. It's in our nature. It's quite disturbing how many lawsuits there has been recently where the immediate reaction is, great, this will leach money from both sides to the lawyers. When knowing that the money ending up with the lawyers is the best possible outcome, it's probably a sign the country is not in a good place. It's a good signal as well. Rich right has started to withdraw support of Trump. If they do, the GOP will follow. Just wait for the Moscow Mitches of this world explaining they tried to stop Trump, but couldn't. They already did turn on him. See Fox News performance and Wall Street continuing to make veiled public threats about funding. 2.5 million is not rich to these people, and actual rich corporations wouldn't be making fools of themselves in court. They're simply putting pressure behind the scenes to the tune of hundreds of millions. This is just the feel-good story I needed today. Idiot gets fleeced, and the cons are getting sued, and they're all going to pay in time and money. True the vote, what the hell kind of name if that anyway? It's like someone just picked it at random. From what I can see through the article's firewall, the donor appears to be some sort of money or market manager. People who entrust him with their money should be having serious second thoughts. They wear foam hats like it's a fucking football game. It's definitely a team sport with these idiots, no comprehension of the consequences of that on their part. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. Sue. I'm assuming he was in a coma for 4+ years? And since when is I did stupid with dollars, needs them back PLZ a valid excuse? Back in the 90s, Republicans pushed hard for tort reform and laws to reduce frivolous lawsuits. Some of those people are currently sitting senators, such as Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley. For a full list of Republican hypocrites who previously were extremely against the judicial system being accosted constantly by crazy people, yet now refuse to point out that Trump is engaged in frivolous lawsuits in an attempt to overthrow the democratic processes of America: Don Young, R. Alaska Chuck Grassley, R. Iowa Richard Shelby, R. Alabama Jim Sensenbrenner, R. Wisconsin Pat Roberts, R. Kansas Hal Rogers, R. Kentucky Chris Smith, R. New Jersey. All of them have been around for like 40 fucking years. I just want one fucking journalist to look up one of their statements from the 90s about how they hate the abuse of the judicial system, yet now they are dead-ass silent about Trump very openly abusing said judicial system. Side note, Don Young and Lisa Murkowski have been touting a land lease in Alaska that is allowing corporations to go and exploit ANWR, Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. To be absolutely clear, this passed under our controlled House and Senate back in 2017, and was rushed through. Since then, Alaska has also approved it as a state, and now we will be destroying an ecosystem that is already off balance due to global warming. One of the few things Biden can do immediately after taking office is to stop this. There are dozens of species in imminent danger of becoming extinct that live in ANWR, and things are already precarious, but Alaska has been wanting to drill in ANWR so they can continue giving cash directly to their own citizens, which is basically political bribery done by the Republicans so they can exploit the state's resources. There aren't enough H and A keys in the world to address how funny this is. I appreciate that I can press them multiple times, but I would wear them out laughing at this fucking numpty. Oh good. I have been looking for Fred Eshelman. I am a Nigerian prince and have a large sum of $5 million for you. I just need a deposit of $2.5 million sent to me and I will. Eshelman wired the group $2 million on November 5 and then sent them a further $500,000 the following week, but True the Vote did not provide him with updates on their activities. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. LMAO, what a tool. How can you be smart enough to have a spare $2.5 million lying around but dumb enough not to realize that claims like this are fraudulent? The Democrats stole the election from us with fraud. Please donate to help us win. Either way, the donor made this huge cash donation to try to win the election in the court system rather than by the vote, and I'm glad he got fleeced. I got proof the Democrats stole the election. I also have pictures of Hillary's child sex pizza dungeon. Just Venmo me $1 million. Too bad, sucker. You aren't going to see a dime of that money back. Trump is like a black hole for money. Once it crosses the event horizon, it's gone forever. The Stop the Steal movement is nothing but a Ponzi scheme to scam money. I've even seen a YouTuber claiming that he has the evidence to flip California and immediately asking for people to donate money so that he can do that job. The real steal is stealing money from the Trump supporters. Should make it a class action suit on behalf of the country and increase the amount by 10,000x. Not that they would ever repay. Everything he touches goes bankrupt eventually. Fred Eshelman donated the money to True the Vote Inc., a Houston-based organization, which had promised to investigate, litigate, and expose suspected illegal balloting and fraud in the 2020 general election, according to Bloomberg. I have a hunch this is a weak case. Surely the fine print mentioned that the money might be used to buy cocaine and hookers, instead. Caveat emptor, shithead. Anyone who gave money to that P.O.S. deserves whatever they get. Buyer beware, indeed. I would like to see scammers dealt with no matter who the victims are. We aren't allowed to have justice. If anybody can get anything out of Trump and his people, I will consider that some kind of justice, although I expect it will be a poor and spiritless kind of half-justice. Eshelman wired the group $2 million on November 5 and then sent them a further $500,000 the following week, but True the Vote did not provide him with updates on their activities. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. What a moron. So the same thing Trump always does, he does again and you are surprised. Haven't these supply-side economics filleting Ayn Rand sycophants ever heard the term, caveat emptor, fucking lol? Well, he was dumb enough to donate $2.5 million in the first place. Hope they don't wire it back and it's one less dumbass throwing away money when there are people dying on the streets. I don't feel in the least bit sorry for him. Only a complete idiot wouldn't know that Trump and his people are inveterate liars, professional con artists, and deeply motivated by self-enrichment rather than any sincere desire to find problems with an election. He got what he deserved and, frankly, I hope he loses the suit, not because the group or Trump deserve to be enriched but because people like him are why Trump and his cronies were ever in a position to do the damage they did to this country. I think less funded terrorists give the US a hard time around the globe. Guerrilla warfare is kinda hard to counter. I'm not saying they will win. But they know the land, the forests, the hills. Maybe the aim would be disrupting commerce in certain areas through small-scale engagements. Also, what happens when people's families, friends, loved ones are killed in these conflicts, on both sides? We've radicalized people into become terrorists around the world from doing just that. Just saying I'd rather deal with Republicans than with what's emerging these days. I hope he gets all of it back, that way others will feel entitled to ask for it too. How else will you break Citizens United? People should think twice before donating to such loser PACs, super or otherwise. Wow, how stupid their donor to believe the pathological liar Trump. Now, Trump has more lawsuit than anybody on the planet Earth. He will end up paying lawyer for the rest of his life. He isn't getting anything back. Sure, they offered him $1 million back, but they won't even provide him with that. I am sure it will get lost or the check is in the mail or some nonsense as to why they never gave anything back to him. If his lawsuit doesn't fail, they still won't give it back to him. He'll eventually have to settle for a much smaller amount, about 5 to 10 years down the road. This is how Trump operates. Eshelman wired the group $2 million on November 5 and then sent them a further $500,000 the following week, but True the Vote did not provide him with updates on their activities. He claimed he regularly asked for information but was met with vague responses, platitudes, and empty promises. I have no words for the sheer stupidity. You just got scammed, bro. You're still out 60% of your initial investment. This is pretty much Trump's business resume. would have got more bang for his buck if he spent that money like any true, red-blooded, milk-drinking American would, on hookers and cocaine. A fool and his money. Perhaps write it off on your tax return as a $2.5 million donation to a fund that helps special needs people? I mean, I watched a video of the guy staring at the sun just before an eclipse, so. The article points out that the group also planned to collect evidence, lobby Republican legislatures, and use sophisticated data modeling and statistical analysis to identify potential illegal or fraudulent balloting. That sounds so science. Why? I mean, ew. How can we not just laugh at this? We had an investor who spent $500,000 looking into Obama's birth certificate. When his investigation didn't give him his proof, he was in genuine shock and wouldn't STFU about how could this be? If only more of them would act on the clear fraud from the Trump side, not in voting, but in scamming his flock out of what little money they have. At least one of them has seen through it. However, just a shame there's still millions who still see him as the second coming. There was another thread, where 65% of Trump supporters believe Biden was working with Satan to win the election. How do you function with that many completely ignorant loons? Seems that they couldn't get 50,000 poll watchers together to intimidate minority voters, either. Another promise. He has been using litigation as an intimidation device his entire life. The amount of baseless lawsuits Trump and his associated companies have filed is unbelievable. My hope is the floodgates will be open on him. The whole family should be sent to prison. Unfortunately, we probably will not see that. So this is the next best thing. Make them all go broke. They value money over everything else anyways. This is funny, but I am worried that if the Republican Party collapses, a worse group with more right-wing ideas and a willingness to use force to gain power will emerge out of the aftermath. And then what? How will non-gun wielding Americans, let's be serious, most true Democrats I meet think an AR is a automatic rifle, seriously defend themselves against a group whose whole thing is armed revolution? I am an independent, politically, and have no love for the Republicans. But it's smarter to fight the enemy you know, than the one you don't. All I'm saying. I hope this guy wins and we get an audit of they spent their money on. I also would like to know what, if any, evidence there were going to provide. I would also like a full itemized bill. It's not my $2 million, I don't why I care, but your president DJT gets me mad because it looks like he will get away with any and all wrongdoing. Trump is super close to proving all the Democrat voting fraud, he just needs another couple million. If we want to MAGA, we have to cancel our Christmases and donate all that we can to him so he can stop the steal. I really don't understand the mentality here. They will willingly give 2.5 million bucks for this, but if this amount was asked by the government in form of taxes, it wouldn't be acceptable. I mean, even the most inefficient government will use his tax dollars better to give him something back in societal improvement, as compared to the stop the steal fraudsters who will only line their pockets. Good for him. He trusted what his media and representatives were falsely telling him and got conned again by this fund not being honorable enough to return donated funds they absolutely didn't use for their stated impossible purpose. If I were a Republican, I'd be beyond absolutely livid. Not true at all. Stop lying to the American people. The dead can't vote. Can't have more votes than registered voters. Stopping the count at 3:30 a.m. and bring in more ballot. For Bunker Joe, the vote mechanics key card and USB was stolen in Pennsylvania. Get your facts right.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And if you are new, subscribe and click on the bell icon.